Have you ever been there? You know that moment where you really want to jump into a conversation, say something smart in English, but the words just, they kind of get stuck.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling.
Yeah, like you have the perfect sentence all lined up in your head, but then the second you try to actually say it, it just sort of crumbles into
Mm.
hesitation.
Mm-hmm. Or you just feel completely swamped by all the resources out there. Like, where do you even begin?
Exactly. Or maybe it's that wave of anxiety that just washes over you, freezes your brain right when you need to speak. It's such a common thing, feeling stuck like that. And it's not just, frustrating, it can genuinely hold you back.
It really can.
But imagine flipping that, right? Speaking with confidence, with clarity, just a natural ease that unlocks, well, everything new opportunities, connections.
It's such a relatable scenario, isn't it? That desire for fluency is powerful.
Mm.
But for so many learners, the actual path there feels, I don't know, incredibly murky. It often leads to this feeling of just spinning your wheels.
Yeah, stagnation.
Exactly. They understand English, maybe they read it well,
Mm.
but that leap to actively producing it, spontaneously, naturally in a real conversation, that's where the big challenge often lies, I
What's
think.
the gap?
It's the critical gap, yeah,
Hmm.
between that sort of passive knowledge and active fluid communication.
Absolutely. And well, that's exactly our mission today. We are taking a proper deep dive into mastering English speaking. We've pulled together some really powerful, actionable insights from a stack of fantastic sources.
Hmm.
We're looking at Matt Abraham's incredible work on spontaneous speaking and managing that anxiety, which is huge. Then there's this really transformative, quite structured 100-day daily speaking challenge.
Which, yeah, I've heard about that one. Intense.
It is. And we've also got some super practical, tailored IELTS strategies mixed in there too. So our goal in this deep dive is basically to distill all these effective techniques into a clear, comprehensive, and most importantly, an actionable roadmap just for you listening in.
Right. So whether your ultimate aim is, say, to confidently ace that IELTS speaking test, which, let's face it, is a specific hurdle for so many people.
Huge hurdle.
Or maybe it's about climbing the career ladder in, our increasingly global world. Or perhaps it's just about having confident, everyday chats without that constant hesitation. This deep dive is really designed to give you those genuine aha moments.
Exactly. We want to cut through all that information overload,
Yeah.
guide you to being truly well-informed in this absolutely crucial skill. It's about moving from feeling, I guess, overwhelmed and stuck to feeling genuinely empowered and, well, fluent.
That's the goal,
Yeah.
moving from stuck to fluent.
Okay, so let's dig into the core challenge itself. Why is focusing on English speaking skills just so incredibly vital right now, more than maybe ever before? Our sources, they laid it out really compellingly. There are immediate reasons, impactful reasons. For a lot of you, like you said, the big driver is acing the IELTS speaking test. And that's not just, another language exam. It's often a gateway, isn't it? A specific high-stakes thing that can unlock studying abroad, immigration paths, even professional recognition.
Absolutely. It's a key. But beyond the test itself, the relevance just gets broader, doesn't it?
Right.
What's truly fascinating, I think, is how speaking confidence isn't just about the words, the grammar, the vocabulary. It's fundamentally about accessing a global community,
Right.
expressing yourself authentically, truly impacting your personal and professional interactions on a much deeper level. Think about the knock-on effect,
Yeah.
when you can actually articulate your thoughts clearly, naturally. You're not just spitting out words. You're sharing your unique ideas, building real relationships, negotiating effectively, influencing things in ways that just, well, knowing the grammar rules never could.
It unlocks a whole new level.
It really does. A whole new dimension of connection, of opportunity, which naturally brings us to that important question. If the benefits are so obvious, so profound, what is it that so often stands squarely in our way? Why do so many people, maybe after years of studying, still hesitate, still struggle to actually speak fluently?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? That persistent, frustrating question. And our guide, it really pinpoints the most common and frankly debilitating challenges that seem to trip almost everyone up at some point. First off, it's overcoming speaking anxiety.
The big one.
Oh, it's huge. That deep-seated fear, making mistakes, being judged, sounding silly. It can be totally paralyzing. It freezes the words before they even get out. Then there's the challenge of sounding genuinely natural.
Right, not like a textbook.
Exactly. Not like you're translating word for word in your head or reciting something. You want it to flow organically. And then finally, there's that hurdle of responding spontaneously. That critical skill of thinking on your feet, jumping into a chat without a script, adapting in the moment, these aren't small things. For many, they feel like massive roadblocks.
You're spot on. And diving a bit deeper into why these challenges are so pervasive, it often feels like a perfect storm, doesn't it?
Mm.
The sheer volume of information available now, every app, every website, every course, promising instant fluency, can ironically make learning feel incredibly overwhelming.
Totally. Information overload.
Precisely.
Mm.
Learners just don't know where to start, what to focus on, or, frankly, which advice to even trust. This overload can lead straight to what psychologists call analysis paralysis. You know a lot about English, but you struggle to actually use it in real time. And the anxiety you mentioned, Matt Abrahams, who's a leading voice in this whole area of spontaneous communication, he emphasizes this early on. That anxiety often stems exactly from this perceived lack of control or feeling like you're not prepared enough.
That makes sense.
But what our sources make absolutely clear is that having a structured, actionable, and truly holistic approach like the ones we're about to unpack is vital. It's the key to transforming that deep-seated hesitation into genuine, lasting confidence. It's about creating a clear path through what often feels like a really confusing jungle.
Okay, so we've kind of laid out the why fluency matters and the big hurdles, but the real question is, how do we actually solve it? This deep dive pulls together a really multifaceted solution, but one that actually fits together beautifully.
Right, it's not just a collection of random tips.
No, exactly. We're going to explore Matt Abraham's incredibly practical stuff for managing anxiety and structuring your thoughts under pressure, because speaking isn't just vocabulary, right? It's about clear, coherent delivery. Then we'll dive deep into the empowering 100-day challenge, that program built around consistent, unstoppable speaking practice. We'll also look at Mark's insightful 30-day IELTS tips specifically for targeted exam prep. And finally, we'll get into the real nuts and bolts, the linguistic techniques like mastering connected speech and naturally using idioms, things that are essential for sounding truly authentic.
And what's genuinely powerful here, I think, is how these elements, which might seem separate, anxiety management here, daily practice there, test tips, linguistic details, they actually converge. They form this cohesive, remarkably powerful system. It's not just about knowing what to say or even just mastering how to say it grammatically correctly. Crucially, it's also about how you feel when you say it. This holistic approach, tackling both the psychological barriers and the practical mechanics, that's what really sets this guide apart, I believe. It gets that speaking isn't just an intellectual thing. It's a performance, a skill that blends your mind, your mouth, and your confidence together seamlessly.
Okay, let's get into that foundational pillar then. The 100-day daily speaking challenge. This is honestly the beating heart of the program. And it sounds simple, but the effect is profound. The core idea: speak English for at least 10 minutes every single day for 100 consecutive days.
Consecutive is the key word there.
Absolutely. The source material hammers this home. No gaps, no skipping a day. Consistency isn't just like a nice to have here. It is the non-negotiable key. It's what unlocks real, lasting, automatic fluency.
That unwavering commitment, it's so crucial. Why? Because it taps directly into how our brains actually learn and build habits. Think of those language pathways in your brain, like tiny roads.
Okay.
Sporadic long sessions are like taking occasional big road trips. But 10 minutes daily, that's like consistently driving on those roads, making them smoother, wider, faster over time. It's neuroplasticity in action. The brain's amazing ability to rewire itself. When you consistently do something, it transforms from feeling effortful to feeling, well, natural, almost automatic. Which raises that important question: why 10 minutes specifically, and why daily? The source suggests that even just 10 dedicated minutes a day dramatically outperforms occasional longer sessions.
Really? Better than, say, an hour once a week?
Apparently so, because it builds momentum. It ensures those neural pathways for language are constantly active, constantly reinforced, rather than kind of fading between sessions.
Yeah.
The compounding effect of small, regular efforts that leads to the big change.
Wow. Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit surprising for some people.
Yeah.
The challenge strictly advises practicing with real people.
Yes, not just talking to the mirror.
Exactly. Our sources are crystal clear. No mirrors, no AI bots, no just talking to yourself. Why? Why this intense focus on authentic human interaction? Because true conversational fluency, it doesn't develop in a vacuum. It grows when you're navigating real-time
Uh,
conversations. When you're forced to react to unexpected questions, manage awkward silences, read body language, all that messy, beautiful stuff that happens when humans actually connect. You're learning to listen deeply, interpret fast, and then respond spontaneously. Skills an AI or your reflection just can't teach you. They can't replicate that dynamic unpredictability.
That's such a vital distinction.
Yeah.
And it connects directly to the bigger picture, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Communication is inherently relational. When you speak with a real person, you learn not just sentence structure, but the actual flow of conversation.
The rhythm.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Managing pauses, responding to cues you didn't expect, picking up on subtle things like a raised eyebrow or a nod, adjusting your speech based on real feedback. These are critical, real-world skills that, yeah, an AI just can't provide. It's about building conversational ease, rapport, that dynamic interaction,
Yeah.
not just reciting correct sentences. Ultimately, it's about learning to truly connect.
So how do you find these real people for your daily 10 minutes? The guide gives some really practical options. You can connect with native speakers or other learners through apps like italki, Cambly, Tandem, HelloTalk. Lots of them have free trials too, which is great.
Takes the pressure off trying them out.
Totally. Or maybe even easier, just tap into your existing network. Ask friends, family, colleagues if they'd be up for a quick 10-minute chat each day. Explain your 100-day goal, maybe even get them to join in. It's about using both the tech tools available and the relationships you already have.
Right. So once you're doing it daily, how do you stay on track? How do you maintain that consistency, especially when, life happens or motivation dips? The guide strongly pushes creating a dedicated tracker.
Like a journal or spreadsheet.
Exactly. Could be a simple notebook, a spreadsheet, an app. The key is what you note down. The date, obviously, who you spoke with, the topic you discussed, and this is really important, any observations about how it went or how you felt.
Oh, like felt more confident today?
Precisely. Or struggled with one pronunciation, or found it easier to keep the conversation going. This tracking isn't just about ticking boxes. It's a powerful tool for self-awareness. You see your progress visually, which is motivating, and you pinpoint specific things to work on.
Okay.
And when it comes to that discomfort, the initial nervousness, which is almost inevitable, the source references Maddie Ram's work again,
Yeah.
it points out a striking statistic. Something like 85% of people experience speaking anxiety.
Wow, 85%. That's most people.
It is. But the beauty of this 100-day challenge idea is the promise. You embrace that discomfort, not as a stop sign, but as a signal of growth. Because confidence isn't some far-off destination. It noticeably builds, often significantly, by just day 10 of doing it consistently, which really raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it? How can you actively reframe that nervousness? See it not as paralyzing, but as a positive sign that you're stretching yourself, that you're actually growing.
That's a powerful reframe. Okay, so moving on. One of the biggest fears in spontaneous chat is just freezing. Running out of things to say, mind goes blank.
The dreaded blank mind, yeah.
But this deep dive offers a brilliant, super practical fix from the 100-day challenge. The A to Z mnemonic.
The A to Z trick. Simple, but effective.
Totally. So the idea is each letter of the alphabet stands for a broad conversation topic. You can pick a letter for the day or just cycle through the list whenever you need inspiration. It guarantees you have an endless supply of conversation starters. No more awkward silences because you can't think of anything.
And what's really fascinating about this, I think, is how such a simple tool directly tackles that core anxiety, the blank mind. It provides an instant mental scaffold, a trigger. It helps learners bypass that initial panic of, oh God, what do I say? And lets them immediately shift focus to how they're speaking, their fluency, pronunciation, structure. It's a great psychological hack because it reduces cognitive load. Less brain power spent scrambling for a topic means more available for the actual act of speaking and interacting. You remove a major hurdle.
Let's give some examples from the source, just to show how varied it is. Like, A could be accomplishments, talk about something you achieved recently. F is food, always a winner. Talk about a great meal, a new recipe. J for Job, T for travel classic conversation starters.
Easy ones.
But then you have ones like Z for zodiac signs, which can actually lead to surprisingly fun chats. The beauty is the flexibility. You use these for your daily practice, sure, but they also map perfectly onto common IELTS speaking part 1 questions. Like if they ask about hobbies, you just think H and you're off. It gives you that immediate anxiety-busting starting point.
Absolutely. But beyond just finding topics, a huge part, maybe the biggest part, of mastering spontaneous conversation is managing your internal state, right?
Yeah.
Specifically that anxiety. So let's dive deeper into Matt Abraham's insights here, because they're crucial for high-stakes moments like IELTS, job interviews, presentations.
Yeah, the pressure situation.
Exactly. And his core message, which is quite counterintuitive, is that the goal is not to eliminate nervousness. Trying to do that is often impossible and just makes things worse.
Right, you just focus on it more.
Precisely. Instead, the goal is to learn to effectively manage it. It's a fundamental and, honestly, quite liberating shift in perspective.
So how do you do that? How do you manage it?
Well, what's really transformative is the approach Abraham suggests. Instead of fighting the anxiety, you actually greet it. The source suggests actively acknowledging those physical signs, the shaky voice, racing heart, sweaty palms, by just saying to yourself, maybe even quietly out loud, okay, this is me feeling nervous. It's normal. It's just physiology.
Just naming it.
Just naming it. This simple act of acknowledgement, Abraham finds, has a profound effect. It immediately reduces the anxiety's intensity. It takes away its power because you're normalizing it, not resisting it. Which leads us to think, okay, how else can we actively shift our mindset away from fear and self-consciousness towards something more productive when we need to speak on the spot?
Right. So building on that, Abraham strongly encourages reframing the whole act of speaking. Instead of seeing it as this big performance where everyone's judging you.
Which is terrifying.
Totally. See it instead as a genuine conversation, a dialogue. And a really effective way to reduce that intense self-pressure is to actively involve your partner. Ask questions like, what did I think about that? Or what's your take on this? It instantly shifts the focus from you and your internal monologue to a shared exchange. It becomes collaborative, not a solo spotlight act.
Mm-hmm. And that dare to be dull maxim from Abraham's, it's so powerful. It frees you from the tyranny of needing to be perfect, especially early on. It encourages prioritizing clarity, just getting your message across over trying to sound super eloquent or polished.
Yeah.
This ties into that bigger idea of focusing relentlessly on progress, not perfection. Just get the words out, even if they're a bit clunky. The polish comes later with practice.
Okay, so mindset shifts are key. What about practical techniques? Things you can actually do when you feel that anxiety rising?
Yeah, Abrams offers some great practical, almost physical techniques to stay present and grounded. One is using tongue twisters, like I slit a sheet I slit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's your mouse working.
Exactly. Practicing those before speaking not only warms up your vocal cords, but physically focuses your mind on articulation, redirecting that nervous energy away from worry. Another really effective one is simple physical activity, a brisk 5-minute walk beforehand, or even a cognitive exercise like counting backward by 17s from 100.
Backward by 17s. That sounds hard.
It is 183, 66. And that's the point. It forces your brain to focus intensely on something completely unrelated to your speaking anxiety. These actions physically shift your focus, ground you in the present, and channel that nervous energy constructively.
Interesting. Okay, so we've tackled generating topics and managing anxiety. Now, what about structuring your thoughts? Especially for those clear, coherent responses needed in IELTS or maybe professional settings. Abrahams has structures for this too, right?
He does, and they're incredibly valuable. Think of them as an internal GPS for your thoughts. It's not about memorizing scripts, but having a flexible framework to confidently handle unexpected questions or topics without rambling or losing your way. Because knowledge is most valuable when it's organized and easily accessible, especially under pressure.
Makes sense. So what's the main structure?
The first, and probably most fundamental, is beautifully simple. What? So what? Now what? It's a versatile 3-step framework. You start with what? Just state the topic or the core fact. Then quickly move to so what? Explain why it matters, its significance, its impact. And finally, now what? Suggest the next steps, implications, or future outcomes.
Okay, what? So what? Now what? Can you give an example like for IELTS Part 2?
Sure. Let's use the example from the source. Imagine the topic is, describe a job you like. You could structure like this. I absolutely love teaching. That's the what. It's incredibly rewarding because I genuinely get to help students grow and see them succeed. That's the so what. Looking ahead, I plan to develop some new innovative teaching methods to make learning even more engaging. That's the now what. See? It provides a natural, logical, satisfying flow.
Yeah, that's really clear. Are there variations?
Absolutely. Abrahams also provides crucial variations like problem solution benefit and opportunity solution benefit. These are especially useful for crafting more analytical or persuasive responses. They give you that logical flow for more complex ideas, moving beyond simple description into analysis or strategy.
Okay, let's break those down with the examples from the source. Problem solution benefit. How would that work, say, for an IELTS Part 3 question like, why do people learn English?
Right. You could structure it. Well, many people globally genuinely struggle with English fluency, facing barriers in communication and their careers. That's the problem. Daily practice, especially with native speakers, is a highly effective way to overcome this and build real proficiency. That's the solution. And the clear benefit. It significantly boosts their confidence, expands their network, and opens up incredible career prospects they wouldn't have otherwise.
Got it. An opportunity solution benefit. How's that different?
It just shifts the starting point to focus on a positive possibility first. So, sticking with a similar theme, learning English genuinely opens up a vast array of global opportunities. Travel, cultural immersion, diverse career paths, that's the opportunity. Consistent daily practice, like the 100-day challenge, is the direct, actionable way to build the fluency needed to seize these chances. That's the solution. The ultimate benefit is a significant boost in both career options and the ability to forge deeper social connections across cultures, really expanding your world.
Those are really useful frameworks.
They are. And we really encourage you listening in to practice them. Maybe grab some A to Z topics and try applying these structures. The more you use them, the more they become second nature, giving you that internal GPS to navigate any conversation confidently.
Okay, this next part is crucial for sounding genuinely natural, not just correct, especially for IELTS, where pronunciation is a whopping 25% of the score. We're talking about mastering things like connected speech and reduced forms.
Mhm. What's truly fascinating here is that native speakers, in real conversation, almost never pronounce every single word distinctly, like you read them on a page.
Right, it's all kind of mushed together sometimes.
Exactly. They blend words, they reduce sounds, even whole words. Understanding this isn't just about sounding good or authentic, it's fundamental to being easily understood and speaking efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
When you use these natural connections and reductions, your speech flows better, faster, and it's actually easier for native speakers to follow, which raises the question, what are the common patterns we should really be listening for and practicing?
Let's get specific with the examples from our source. First up, connected speech. This is that blending phenomenon, like instead of what do you do, sounding like 4 words, it becomes what do you do?
What do you do? Yeah.
Or let me get you something smooths out into let me get you something. You also hear next door become next door and social life kind of slur into social life. The words just link up naturally.
And then there are reduced forms. This is when common words or sounds get shortened in fast speech. So I want to very often becomes I wanna,
Wanna.
gotta.
Exactly. I've got to becomes I got. Don't you reduces to don't ya. And the classic, I don't know, frequently turns into, I don't know. These aren't lazy speech. They're the efficient, natural way native speakers talk. They create that rhythm and flow.
And we can't forget those subtle but really common T to D shifts, especially in American English, right? Like when a T sound is between vowels.
Right. The flap T.
Yeah. So butter often sounds more like butter. Little becomes little. City can sound like city. It's a small shift, but it makes a huge difference in sounding natural.
And the why behind all these connected speech reductions, T to D shifts, it's really about ease of articulation. It's about rhythm. Our mouths naturally find the easiest path when speaking quickly.
Makes sense. Less effort.
Exactly. Blending and reducing makes speech less choppy, more fluid, more dynamic. And that dynamism is key to engaging communication. It's the music of the language, not just the notes. Speaking of music, it's not just the sounds themselves, but the stress and intonation, right? The melody, the emphasis. Like in your example, I'm going to go to Walmart. Stressing gonna and Walmart tells the listener what's important.
Precisely. That strategic emphasis guides the listener, makes your speech engaging, easier to follow. Without it, even perfect grammar can sound flat, robotic, even hard to understand.
So how do we practice all this? It's not just theory.
No, definitely not. The source stresses active listening and imitation. Tune into native speakers podcasts like BBC Learning English, YouTube channels like English Addict with Mr. Steve. Don't just listen. Actively repeat phrases. Mimic their rhythm, their reductions, their intonation, and crucially, record yourself.
Listening to yourself speak.
I know, it could be cringeworthy at first, but it's invaluable. It's objective feedback. You can actually hear where you're hitting those patterns and where you're not. It's like being your own pronunciation coach.
Okay, I see the value. Now, moving on to another key element for natural fluency. Idioms. Those quirky phrases like kick the bucket or break a leg. Using them well adds color, authenticity, and definitely boosts your vocabulary score in IELTS.
What's really fascinating about idioms is how they go beyond just vocabulary. They deeply reflect cultural nuances, shared understanding, sometimes even a whole way of thinking. They're shorthand for complex ideas.
Right, they pack a lot of meaning.
They do. Using them shows you understand not just the words, but the cultural fabric woven into the language. It builds rapport. It's a real sign of advanced fluency.
So how do we learn them without sounding forced? The guide suggests a manageable approach. Just learn 1 to 2 new idioms a day, maybe from a list like Lingo Marina's 100 idioms. Keeps it achievable.
Yeah, bite-sized chunks. And let's give some vivid examples from the source you can start using. Hit the nail on the head, meaning you're exactly right. Spill the tea. That fun, informal one for sharing gossip.
Spill the tea! Love that one.
Right. If someone goes the extra mile, they do way more than expected. To get your ducks in a row means get organized. And if you're in the same boat, you share a similar, often tough situation. These are super common.
But, and this is crucial advice, especially for IELTS, use them sparingly, right? Naturally. Don't just shoehorn them in everywhere.
Exactly. That sounds incredibly unnatural and forced. The goal is seamless integration. Like if you're talking about learning English, you might naturally say, yeah, I was definitely in the same boat when I started, struggling with grammar, but eventually I figured it out. That flows, it works. It enhances your message without being jarring.
Okay, that makes sense. Use them, but use them wisely.
Yeah.
Right, so we've talked a lot about the output speaking. What about the input side? Listening. The source mentions that great line from Abraham's, don't just do something, stand there. What does that actually mean for fluency? It sounds kind of passive.
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? But
Right.
it's profound. It means sometimes the most effective thing you can do in a conversation is to pause, to truly absorb, to fully process what you've just heard, rather than immediately rushing to formulate your own response.
So slowing down the listening part.
Exactly. Which raises the question, how does active, deliberate listening actually impact your speaking? Well, it gives your brain the time it needs to fully process the information, the nuances, the subtext, the real intent. Only then can you formulate a higher quality, more thoughtful, more appropriate response, instead of just blurting out the first thing that pops into your head to fill the silence.
Ah, okay. Better quality responses.
Definitely. It leads to deeper engagement, fewer misunderstandings, and much more coherent replies from you. It's a foundational skill that directly feeds your ability to speak effectively and spontaneously.
So practically, how do we cultivate this? First step seems simple. Just pause before responding. Resist that urge to jump in. Give yourself a beat.
Precisely. Even a second or two makes a difference. And the source offers some really interesting, almost playful techniques to internalize this. One is mentally spelling out words in your head during a conversation.
Spelling words, like G-O-I-N-G.
Exactly. If you're talking about going to the store, mentally spell S-T-O-R-E. It sounds odd,
Yeah.
but it forces you to consciously slow down your mental processing, keeps you present, stops your mind racing ahead to plan your reply before you've even finished listening.
Huh. Weird, but I can see how it might work. What else?
Another excellent technique is simply rephrasing what your partner said to confirm understanding. Something like, okay, so if I'm hearing you right, you're saying you love traveling because. It clarifies for you and shows your partner you're genuinely engaged.
Double benefit. And of course, listening to authentic English media is key too, right? For recognizing all those nuances.
Absolutely essential. Keep listening to podcasts, news, watch shows like Friends or The Office. Pay attention to how native speakers use fillers, like basically to create flow and buy thinking time. Listen for sarcasm. Oh, great weather, when it's pouring rain. Or those subtle hints, it's a little chilly in here, meaning could someone close the window? Understanding these is vital not just for comprehension, but for using them naturally yourself.
Okay, what about those really tricky questions, like the analytical ones in IELTS Part 3, or tough Q&A in a work meeting, where you feel put on the spot? Abrahams has techniques for this too.
He does, specific ones. And what's fascinating is that these aren't just language techniques. They're universal communication strategies for staying composed and clear under pressure. They help you depersonalize the challenge, shifting focus from your internal anxiety to the external task of just responding effectively.
So what's the approach?
First step. Acknowledge the emotion or concern without naming it as your own or getting defensive. Instead of, that question makes me nervous, try, I hear the concern in that point, or That's an interesting perspective. It validates the question's weight, but keeps your own emotional state steady.
Okay, acknowledge without owning the feeling. Then what?
Then, paraphrase the question. This buys you thinking time and ensures you've understood correctly. So if asked about technology's impact, you might say, so if I understand correctly, you're asking why some people might actively avoid technology. It confirms, aligns, and sets you up.
Right. Acknowledge, paraphrase, then respond using one of those structures we talked about.
Exactly. Respond with a structure like what, so what, now what. This keeps you clear, concise, and calm, providing that logical pathway even when you feel pressured.
Let's use the source example. Why do some people dislike technology?
Okay, applying this structure. Some people dislike technology due to its complexity and the fast pace of change. That's the what. This can make them feel overwhelmed and left behind. The so what. Providing targeted education and support can help them adapt and embrace new tools. The crucial now what. See? Logical, comprehensive, calm. No rambling.
Yeah, that works. Practice is key there, I imagine.
Definitely. Practice with a partner using tough questions is highly recommended. Build that muscle memory.
Now, this deep dive really hammers home that speaking isn't isolated, is it? It's linked to listening and vocabulary in this kind of ecosystem.
Absolutely. It's a symbiotic relationship. You can't truly excel at one without the others. They feed each other, creating this virtuous cycle of improvement.
So how do they support each other in practice?
Well, stronger listening skills directly improve your comprehension nuances, context, intent. That, in turn, informs your ability to give better, more appropriate responses. And a richer vocabulary, gained from listening and reading, allows for a more precise, expressive communication. You can say exactly what you mean. It's about building a robust, interconnected language foundation where everything strengthens everything else. It's holistic growth.
So, practical application. Keep listening, right? Podcasts like The English We Speak, shows like Friends, watching for connected speech, fillers, cultural stuff.
Exactly. Immerse yourself. And when practicing with partners, actively discuss articles or news. It's a great way to use those A to Z topics like N news or V values meaningfully. Plus, it creates natural chances to slip in those new idioms like saying an idea is a dime a dozen.
And noting down new words.
Yes. Note 5-10 new words daily from your listening or reading. But critically, don't just note them, actively use them in your conversations that day or the next. That's how they move from passive knowledge to active vocabulary.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, after all this effort, how do you know you're actually improving? How do you track progress? The source stresses feedback and self-reflection, right? Aligning with Mark's IELTS tips in the 100-day challenge.
It's absolutely crucial. Knowledge is most valuable when it's actively refined. It's about creating that continuous improvement loop. Without feedback and reflection, you could be practicing consistently, but reinforcing bad habits. Which raises the question, what kind of feedback should you be seeking? And how do you use it effectively?
So, actionable steps. Ask partners or teachers for specific critiques, like how was my pronunciation of little versus little, or was my argument coherent?
Precisely. Specific targeted feedback is gold, much better than just good job. And strongly advocate for recording those daily 10-minute sessions. Listen back actively. Hunt for errors you missed, forgotten contractions, mispronunciations, rambling moments. Note them down.
And the daily reflection in the tracker.
Non-negotiable. Ask yourself, what went well today? What needs work tomorrow? Adjusting your practice based on this loop of feedback and self-assessment is key. It's the difference between just practicing and deliberate practice.
Okay, moving towards applying all this. For those aiming specifically for IELTS, this guide offers a clear path to prep for all 3 speaking parts, integrated into the daily practice.
Yeah, this is all about bridging that gap between general fluency and targeted test performance. You've built the speaking muscle. Now it's about building confidence and precision by mimicking the actual test scenario. It reduces anxiety because the format becomes familiar.
So let's break it down. Part 1, the introduction, those personal questions. Practice using conversational language, maybe slip in an idiom naturally, like, I'm from Delhi and it's a pretty hectic place, you know?
Exactly. Sound natural, engaged, approachable. Then for part 2, the cue card, that 1 to 2 minute monologue. This is prime time for consciously using structures like what, so what, now what, and incorporating connected speech, like starting, okay, I'm going to tell you about this trip I took. Delivering a coherent, fluent response within the time limit is key here.
And part 3, the discussion. those more analytical, abstract questions. This is where structures like problem solution benefit really shine, right? To show that deeper thinking.
Absolutely. They help you articulate complex ideas clearly and logically, moving beyond simple description to the analysis examiners want to see. And again, record these simulated sessions, review them, get feedback from people familiar with IELTS criteria. And remember those A to Z topics. They align perfectly with common IELTS themes: travel, education, hobbies, giving you tons of practice material.
Now, here's a fun part for building spontaneity and cutting down on overthinking: improv games. Not just for actors, right?
Not at all. They are incredibly powerful, fun tools for language learners. What's fascinating is how improv, often seen as just entertainment, is actually amazing for developing cognitive flexibility, quick thinking, and reducing that fear of mistakes. It perfectly embodies Abraham's dare to be dull idea. The goal isn't perfection, it's participation, building on others, embracing imperfection.
So what kind of games? The guide mentions shout the wrong name.
Yeah. Simple but effective. Point at things, call them something else, point at a pen, yell banana. It forces you to embrace imperfection, laugh at mistakes, react quickly without overthinking. Great for breaking self-correction habits.
Okay. And gift exchange.
Fun one. With partner, hand over an imaginary gift. Name it, here's a glowing moon rock. The other person accepts, then explains why they gave it. Thanks, I gave it because it matches your vibe. Crucially, you use yes and to build on their response. Fosters collaboration, spontaneous expansion.
And one-word story.
Classic improv game. You and a partner build a story one word at a time, once, upon a time. Forces lightning-fast thinking, collaboration, reacting instantly. Great for verbal agility. Seriously, try these. Incorporate them into your practice. They make spontaneous speaking genuinely fun, less intimidating, and help build confidence and adaptability naturally.
Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's crystallize the absolute most impactful pro tips from everything we've discussed. The real nuggets of wisdom.
These are the accelerators, yeah. Integrate these, and you're not just learning, you're optimizing for maximum impact and retention.
Tip number 1, non-negotiable. Stay consistent. 10 minutes daily, no gaps. Remember, even 10 minutes daily beats sporadic long sessions. Second, embrace discomfort. Initial nerves are normal, temporary. They fade around day 10 as confidence grows. Push through.
Third, use conversational language. Shift from formal phrasing, one must consider, to natural talk. This is important to you, I think. Makes you sound authentic. Fourth, practice fillers and nuances. Learn to use, basically naturally for flow. Recognize sarcasm, hints. It's how natives talk.
Fifth, record and review daily. Analyze recordings for pronunciation, fluency, structure. Fix errors. Sixth, engage actively. Make it a dialogue. Ask what I think. Reduces pressure. Shows interest.
Seventh, vary your partners. Speak with different people, friends, apps. Adapt to accents, styles. Builds flexibility. Eighth, integrate idioms sparingly. 1 or 2 per chat, naturally. Adds color, not clutter.
Ninth, simulate real scenarios. Practice IELTS questions, mock interviews, casual chats using A to Z topics. Prepares you for reality. And 10th, celebrate progress. Note milestones in your tracker. Day 20, spoke fluently about travel. Acknowledging wins keeps you motivated.
For those wanting to keep diving deeper after this, our sources offer excellent resources. This is about enabling that continued self-directed learning, building on what you've gained today.
Absolutely. For expert insights, check out the book Speaking Up Without Freaking Out by Matt Abrahams and his website, nofreakinspeaking.com.
For practice partners, remember those apps: Cambly, italki, Tandem, HelloTalk. Connect you globally.
For listening skills and natural patterns, tune into podcasts like BBC Learning English, The English We Speak, or YouTube channels like English Addict with Mr. Steve.
And don't forget community, local meetups, online forums like Reddit's English Learning. Find practice partners, support.
And for IELTS prep, use official IELTS websites and practice books like Cambridge IELTS 18 for realistic simulation. These resources supercharge your daily practice.
Okay, wow. We have covered a lot in this deep dive.
We really have. From the discipline of the 100-day challenge and that brilliant A to Z mnemonic, to mastering connected speech and idioms and applying Abraham's powerful techniques for anxiety and structure, you genuinely have a comprehensive, actionable toolkit now. It's about transforming how you communicate and how you feel doing it.
And what's truly fascinating, I think, beyond the specific techniques, is just the sheer transformative power of consistent, smart practice. It's not just about language, it's about building genuine, lasting confidence that breaks through the language barrier.
Yeah.
And that confidence, once you have it, it spills over, doesn't it? It applies anywhere you need to communicate effectively, think on your feet, connect with people. It's a foundational life skill, really.
So, as you stand ready to start or maybe restart this journey, what does this all mean for you? As you commit to this path, consider this. How might mastering spontaneous, confident English speaking not just improve your communication, but fundamentally reshape your willingness to embrace totally new challenges, new opportunities in all parts of your life? Imagine the doors it could open.
Which leads to that final compelling question. If you commit to this, if you lean into this discomfort and the daily dedication, what previously unimaginable conversations might you find yourself having in 100 days? And what new exciting paths might those conversations open up for you personally, professionally, globally?
The roadmap is clear. The tools are in your hands. Start today, stay consistent, and get ready to truly transform your English speaking skills and maybe a whole lot more. We can't wait to hear about your journey.